So the charts are actually screaming warning signs. Bitcoin is on an edge, gold is pumping, and liquidity is just draining from the market faster than anyone had expected. And now with even more tariffs and tariffs on all countries potentially coming, is this the end of the cryptocurrency bull market already? Let's break it all down in this simple video. Now, first things first, red level is the previous all-time high. That is, in my opinion, a very, very key level of interest. So don't just plonk your orders there. I just think it's a potential level of interest. But the other one was also here, 90,000, which we've rejected off. And I'm going to look at this in more detail and see why there's a lot of confluence between certain market situations, why we could be going lower here. There's one element of glimmer of hope about bullishness, which we will talk about too. But ultimately, right, let's talk about the obvious in the room. We are in a downtrend currently, right now. Still not proven fully that we're flipped, and I'll talk about that as I say. But ultimately, we're looking to go in towards potential extension levels around here. But there's going to be a lot of, I think, untapped liquidity, and I will come on to liquidity in a bit. Problem we have is the market and the price across the board, apart from gold, is very, very weak currently right now, and it's not fun. And that's where we are in terms of a situation. Is this going to change? But one thing that is for sure, if you understand basic TA and the simple lines around TA and the change of character, if you go to a line chart on the daily time frame, for example, right? If you're looking at the previous low of the market, which essentially is here, right? So in the previous situation, that's the low. We've actually taken that out. And that's interesting to note. So if we're going to look at change of characters, we could be looking, essentially, realistically, at have we changed character here? Have we actually, what we've created here, is this going to be a higher low? That is the bullish kind of situation where we might be thinking, you know what? That $76,000 might be the bottom, but I still think it's a little bit kind of a stretch right now, currently given with the economic climate around the tariffs, which I will go on to in more detail. Now, the biggest issue we have, let's be honest, Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency market is behaving like this. The S&P 500. That's it. The simple top and bottom of it. Horrible. And it's looking stinking. It's looking horrible. And there's nothing much I can say other than the fact that this is correcting and it's looking weaker and weaker. And even pre-market right now as I speak, it's pretty disgusting. It feels like we're going to go down to these sort of levels of 5,300 levels, roughly around a 13-14% correction. Now, you could argue Bitcoin's holding up pretty well versus the fact that it's doing a potential 10, 13, 14% correction here. Pretty good, really, considering Bitcoin usually on its knees by that point. But another thing we need to also talk about is the fact that gold is absolutely roaring to the upside, which has given us a big indication that shit's going wrong somewhere. We kind of know where it is. I'm going to come to it. But the reality is here. This is telling us that markets are uncertain. They don't like this uncertainty. And this is why there's a big open question here. And I want to know in the comments, do you think the crypto bull market is over? Do you think the stock market's going to pull back more aggressively? Because if gold is rallying and nothing else is going with it, that is the biggest warning sign you can ever have, especially when you're looking at markets. So yeah, let me know in the comments. So where does this lead in terms of altcoins, you're probably wondering? Well, dominance of Bitcoin is going up. This is a total 3/BTC chart. This is currently doing nothing. It's no real conviction at all. BTC dominance is closed. It has actually closed its highest ever weekly chart close since February, March of 2021. So pretty much a good couple of years ago this time. Wow. So yeah, this still hasn't shown signs of toppiness. I know a lot of people get quite upset when I talk about altcoins, saying it's not ready for altcoins, just chill out, relax, don't hold them just yet. You know, this is still not showing signs of weakness in my opinion. That's a higher time. That's the monthly time frame, boys and girls. That isn't showing any sign of weakness. No change of character, no sort of weakness anywhere. And that goes to show with every single individual /BTC altcoin currently today, it's looking honking horrible. And I will come on to more details about one other thing about the market analysis, which is probably somewhat overlooked. Trust me, I'll get there. But the reality is here, Ethereum.D is plunging to 8.33%. We're pretty much going back to 2020 levels, I think. That is going low. And there's just been no real uptick. And I know people are going to be in the comments going, oh, it'll happen eventually. But what are you waiting for? Like, how big is the bounce going to be? We don't know. When is it going to come? We don't know. There's no point trying to front run this. The reality is the people who have won are the people that have been in Bitcoin the longest, realistically, right? Yeah, you're going to make some money somewhere. That's fine. I understand that. I've done it myself. But realistically, people are like, I think, misunderstanding the gravity of where we are right now. This definitely feels different in terms of the price cycle, in terms of timing. And I will come on to it why tariffs are very, very important here. But the reality is here, and I'm going to talk about altcoins, and I don't want to brush my ego a bit here, but I'm going to talk about some old videos I did, and I'll go on to it. But I just want you to remember that the price is $1,800 for Ethereum. This is the monthly time frame, by the way. It's a slog. It's horrible. But 8 months ago, I did this video why it's unlikely we'll get an alt season again. And the prices of Bitcoin was $62,000. Ethereum was $3,400. Obviously, Bitcoin's gone up quite a lot since then. It went to $104,000, which I'll come on to in a sec. But even here, I was talking about alt seasons and why it's very unlikely we're going to get the big ones like the past. I also did a one 3-4 months ago now, pretty much, this video, which is alt season cancelled. Bitcoin was $104,000 at this point, and Ethereum was still $3,945. There's stuff that had moved here. But the reason why it was cancelled was because what the Fed said. The Fed said something that really put people off. And then when you combine it with tariffs, and then you combine it with the lack of liquidity, which I will get onto, it's become an absolute recipe for disaster for investing in altcoins and also in the entire cryptocurrency industry because it's slowed down the growth, which has stopped people from investing. Simple as that. Let me know if you like the technical analysis videos. I'm unsure what to do more of these days, and I quite like doing technical analysis videos. I do more of these on Patreon, so if you want more of that, jump in Patreon. Now, this is going to sound obvious, but there's a little bit of fear around liquidity. And obviously, you've just seen gold take off to the rocket moon. And the problem we have is, even here, the FX market is struggling, and it may well be less liquid than it appears. Where's the money going? What's happening? And there's a couple of mentions here in this article about certain things. So certainly we talk about, are we starting to get upset about the spreads? The use of automation and creating the illusion of a market dev while retreat of bigger institutions actually drained liquidity away. A little bit of fear in the market, you could probably argue. There's also stuff around the carry trade that happened in August. In terms of the 5th of August, the whole carry trade kind of situation happened where that pretty much blew up. There's problems here. And that's where we get into a situation where I think, and I mentioned it in one of my previous videos not so long ago, market sentiment is probably one of the biggest drivers ever. Even if you're bullish on something and the market sentiment isn't there, there's a good chance the market price will not hold up. Likewise with the other way around, right? So that problem, it's not going to go away. And if you are talking about uncertainty and turmoil and fear as a real big negative factor, you're right to worry about it, because even here, you can see this here, like literally, concern of the stronger currencies would hammer exporters, triggering the biggest one-day sell-off in Japanese stocks since 1987. We're getting towards that point where America is just not going to let things in. Tariffs. So here was the warning sign. I missed it personally, but a really good account, Brett_Ethereum. I know. But the reality is here. From 2018, we got some issues with the market. This is played out perfectly, realistically, right? And I know the market's a little bit different now. But tariffs are still a potential for two things. Potential risk of recession and potential risk of high inflation. Put them together equals a recipe for disaster, really. We've got quantitative tightening still. We've got high interest rates still. We've got certain situations of uncertainty in the market due to tariffs and what they are and what they're doing and what's going to come online. That is just a whole recipe for disaster. And you can see already above my head how much stocks have gone down, Ethereum's gone down, Bitcoin, and even Tesla. What? Mad. And this is kind of where we are with tariffs. This is the whole situation about the imposed, or threatened, or suspended. There's a lot of stuff happening here. And this is a tracker on Bloomberg, and it's brilliant. I'll be honest with you, trying to get my whole head around what's happening because it's very aggressive and very, very quick. But there's also inflation trackers and GDP trackers on here. So some of them are suspended, some of them are threatened, whatever. But ultimately, the ones that are actually imposed are mental. So yeah, this is not good for the markets because it is creating that fear and doubt. And as I say, Bitcoin's behaving like the S&P 500. We want it to behave like gold. So let's flip back a little bit in terms of scenarios, what I'm thinking about doing, right? So obviously I've mentioned on the higher time frames, we've got to look at this obvious big level, right? It's kind of there. Now, I alluded to it, gold. Gold's important here. If there's fears of problems, gold is doing well. Now, the ultimate question has been for any Bitcoin investor in the world is, can we survive or can we do well in a recession? We've never had a recession before. And the obvious title in the room is the Bitcoin market or the cryptocurrency bull run over? That is a very, very interesting, vague point. But ultimately, we don't know yet, do we? At the moment, it feels like it might be coming towards a slow end. And that could be an issue. No offense to anyone, but if we're behaving like the S&P 500 and that is properly correcting and not behaving like gold, that's a bit of a warning sign. We need to be mindful of that. So what I mean by that is we've got volatility across the market, and I want to talk about one more thing in a minute. Gold, we need Bitcoin to do what gold's do. We need a situation where there's pure fear in the market and the money problems are there and people are going to Bitcoin. That is not happening right now. And I think a lot of people who are early Bitcoin investors are getting massively rattled out. And in my opinion, there's not enough institutional buy-in to prop it up. And the proof is in the pudding here. Look at that. There's, in my opinion, not enough buyers for that ETF currently. And that is one big stark problem. And the other problem is the Russell 2000 looks like a dog's dinner. It does, right? And that's the situation. This is a fantastic indicator to tell us what is happening in the lower cap stocks and also altcoins and that sort of side of the market. This is in a honking downtrend. This is really, really dropping and also rejected a level of 382 and could be going even lower. If we, in my opinion, if we lose this whole structure point around this area, can we just do something as simple as bull market over? Because it feels like that is what could be happening. That is a proper big area of real interest. Go through the 3-day time frame, you're in between that region. Going on to the weekly time frame, it looks even worse. You could probably argue a bit higher, to be honest with you. But let's go for an extension level. But reality is, that could be the situation what we're looking at here. Got to be very, very mindful of it. So there you go. Hope you enjoy. If you want more of these videos, as I say, leave a comment and let me know. Watch this video that I'm recommending. Probably explain a bit more.